Suddenly, a marble got stuck in the claw machine. At this moment, the manager of the arcade was startled. He couldn't believe that Kaiji had spent 20 million yen to use marbles to break the claw machine. The previously top-secret defense mechanism now couldn't even close properly. The next second, a marble rolled into the disc, and the people around the machine became extremely excited, crowding around it. Looking at the broken defense mechanism, the manager didn't know what to say anymore. However, Uncle Moji beside him was very pleased. In fact, the truth was that this situation was part of their joint plan. 3 days earlier, Kaiji had already started planning everything. The iron claw inside the game machine, which seemed indestructible, actually had a plastic control arm inside. As long as the control arm was dented, the whole iron claw would deform. Kaiji figured this out, so he bought disposable heating packs. Once the bag ruptured, it would immediately undergo an oxidation reaction and heat up. Now, all he had to do was figure out how to shrink the heating pack, then stuff it into the control arm, with a small spiked ball placed underneath it. Through repeated collisions of the ball with the control arm, the heating pack would eventually be pierced by the spikes. Afterward, he just needed to buy marbles. When the plastic control arm was exposed to heat, it would deform, just like a plastic straw. Once heated, it would oxidize and change shape. The principle was that simple. In fact, the real purpose of implementing this plan was to create a diversion in the casino. Kaiji needed to replace the tools he had prepared ahead of time, before the broken parts were delivered, which would complete half of the plan, but they had to avoid the casino manager noticing, so they had to come up with a good excuse, and that excuse was stealing from the vault. The plan seemed flawless. The manager lost in this situation, and reluctantly had to accept the reality. But then Kaiji pulled out another 10 million yen to buy more marbles. The manager had to make a change. He was sure that Kaiji was cheating. He yelled loudly, ordering Kaiji to stop the game, claiming that the machine must have been tampered with by Kaiji, which was why the claw had malfunctioned. But Kaiji already knew the manager would say this. His expression changed, showing that he had already spent so much money, 30 million yen. Now, the manager was accusing him of cheating. He demanded to see solid evidence, or else it would only be the manager's guess. Moreover, the casino had control over the machines and remote control functionality. Originally, there was a 1/3 chance of winning through the disc, but the control arm had blocked all of Kaiji's 30 million yen worth of marbles. Kaiji hadn't even complained about the casino cheating yet. At this point, the spectators agreed with Kaiji's words, which left the manager stunned. The next second, the phone rang. It was the president calling for the manager.
見ていた一部始終力足らず帰るか海に深海に漂う木図よどみ
The casino was indeed unfair to players, but they couldn't let it be too obvious. The president told the manager to allow Kaiji to continue the game, but to activate the machine's last defense mechanism. The manager received the instructions, gave his subordinate a look, and then pulled out the deadly remote control. What no one expected was that Kaiji had already discovered the casino's defense mechanisms. Every time a marble was about to enter the winning hole, it would suddenly bypass it. This was because there was a slightly raised obstruction next to the hole, which blocked the marbles falling from above. This was the only entrance to win. Logically speaking, marbles could also enter the hole from the front, and there was no